Another phony Biden PR stunt about humanitarian aid in Gaza. The Biden administration is performing another PR stunt about getting humanitarian aid into Gaza as Election Day approaches. The White House has given Israel a 30-day notice that it needs to improve humanitarian conditions in the Gaza Strip or risk losing military aid, a deadline which you will notice conveniently falls after U.S. Election Day on November 5th. Rather than releasing this information itself, the Biden administration published it in its customary manner by laundering it through Axios as a letter that was obtained by the outlet and its Israeli intelligence insider Barak Ravid, thereby framing this as a news story and not a White House press release. Not only does the 30-day deadline fall after Election Day, it falls after Israel's planned attack on Iran in response to Iran's retaliatory missile strike on Israel. Anonymous officials have told the Washington Post that Israel will be launching this attack before the election in the U.S. This narrative the Biden administration is trying to insert into public consciousness is already falling apart. The Washington Post's John Hudson reports via Twitter, quote, Biden's spokesman at the White House and State Department declined to say the U.S. will restrict U.S. arms sales to Israel if it continues to block aid, raising doubts for some about the seriousness of the U.S. warning, end quote. Hudson also cited the analysis of former senior Biden administrator Jeremy Conindike, now the president of Refugees International, regarding this development. Quote, After the past year, Netanyahu will be understandably skeptical that Biden will put real teeth behind this sort of warning. He has blown through every guardrail the U.S. has tried to erect, and has done so with total impunity so far. End quote. If this was a real thing with real teeth, and not an incredibly cynical 11th-hour election ploy, it would have happened a full year ago. As with all words the U.S. government releases about Israel, it can be safely ignored without missing out on anything of value. The Biden administration's actions speak for themselves, and have done so for a year. Ignore their words. Watch their actions. If you just look at the material actions of the U.S. government and Israel and mentally mute all their mountains of verbiage about it, you simply see a big country pouring weapons into a little country who uses them to attack its neighbors. If you tune out all the words expressing concern for the people of Gaza, about how Israel must do more to get humanitarian aid to civilians and try to kill fewer people, about how sad and tragic and unfortunate this whole thing is, but it's also very important that Israel have the ability to defend itself, and plus Hamas and Hezbollah are hiding behind civilians and blah, 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 blah. If you tune out all that and just look at the raw data of what's happening, you just see a state raining hellfire on civilian populations packed full of children and using siege warfare to starve hundreds of thousands of people. Ignore their words and watch their actions. That's how you sort out fact from fiction in an information environment that's saturated in propaganda and manipulation. Not just with Israel, but with everything. Watch where the war machinery is going, where the money is going, and where the resources are going. And ignore all the words about why it makes perfect sense for this to be happening. Do this, and you'll have an infinitely better understanding of what's going on in the world than you could ever hope to glean from watching CNN or Fox News. This is a great way to see through the manipulations in your personal life as well. If you're in a relationship with someone who keeps letting you down in various ways and always has sensible-sounding reasons for doing so, but when you look at where the resources and/or relaxation and/or pleasure are going in your relationship, you see it's mostly going toward your partner, that tells you what's really going on there. It tells you you're in an unequal and exploitative relationship, regardless of what words they use to explain why they keep getting their way at your expense. Manipulators understand that you can trade words for real material benefits. Say the right words in the right way, and you can get people to agree to let you commit mass atrocities. You can get them to give you control over their material circumstances. You can get them to consent to wildly unfair economic and political systems. You can persuade them to let you destroy the biosphere they depend on for survival. You can get them to give you power, money, sex, egoic gratification, whatever it is you're after, just by saying the right words in the right way. And that's basically our entire problem as a species right now. That's why the world looks the way it looks. A few clever manipulators have figured out how to use mass-scale psychological manipulation to get us to trade away real material benefits for empty narrative fluff. That's the only reason this genocidal, ecocidal, exploitative, batshit insane political status quo has been permitted to exist by people who vastly outnumber the few who benefit from it. This will keep happening until humanity becomes a conscious species. To become a conscious human is to awaken from the trance of the believed narratives in your skull and begin perceiving life as it truly is. The difference between our mental stories about how life is happening and how it really is could not be more different, which is why manipulators are able to extract so much benefit from manipulating our mental stories about how life is happening. Manipulators will always have the ability to do this until we make the necessary adaptation as a species from believing mental narratives to perceiving life as it truly is. Every species eventually hits an adaptation or extinction juncture as its conditioning runs into changing material realities on this planet. We're at ours right now, and unlike other species who have gone extinct before us, our own behavior is responsible for the changing material realities we are running up against. Since our behavior at mass scale is being driven by mass-scale psychological manipulation via the most sophisticated propaganda machine that has ever existed, in order to see a change in the way humans behave on this planet, we're going to have to see a mass-scale shift in our species' relationship with mental narrative. It is possible for an individual to stop imbuing their mental chatter with the power of belief and start seeing life as it is. And if it is possible to do this individually, it is possible to do it collectively as well. We all have this potentiality sleeping within us. It will either awaken and carry us beyond the adaptation or extinction juncture we now face, or we will go the way of the dinosaur. That's where we're at right now. We have the freedom to go either way.